All right, good morning and welcome to Sunday morning, May the 16th. And thanks for those of you who prayed for me and for Sue also while we were away at conference. And some tough issues struggled through, but good resolutions to them. And God just being amazing and blessing in beyond anything we could ever ask or think. So thank you so much for your prayers. We did take the week off, as you are aware, from our daily devos because days are always long and they're exhausting. Good, but exhausting. So thank you for being patient. We caught up a week with John Stott and his devotions through the church calendar, but he's still going to be a week ahead of us. So he's going to be talking about Pentecost today, and that's not for another week for us. But again, you'll be ahead of the game. You'll understand things, have some John Stott insights on these things. The focus for the week is entitled "The First Christian Sermon," and so he's going to be breaking down the message on that first day of Pentecost and letting us know what some of the focus is that Peter preaches. And so today, on this Sunday, our devotion is entitled Peter's Quotation from Joel. Joel was an Old Testament prophet and one of my favorites. Peter's quotation from Joel. The suggested reading is Acts chapter 2. That's where Pentecost happens. Acts chapter 2, verses 14 through 21. The verses at the top that are shared are from verses 16 and 17. This is what was spoken by the prophet Joel. In the last days, God says, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. What Luke has described in Acts chapter 2, verses 1 through 13, Peter now explains. The extraordinary phenomenon of spirit-filled believers declaring God's wonders in foreign languages is the fulfillment of Joel's prediction that God would pour out his Spirit on all humankind. Peter's exposition is similar to what in the Dead Sea Scrolls is called a pesher, that is, an interpretation of an Old Testament passage in the light of its fulfillment. So Peter introduces his sermons with the words, this is that. That's how verse 16 goes in the King James. He deliberately changes Joel's afterword from Joel 2:28 to in the last days in order to emphasize that with the Spirit's coming, the last days have come. They've begun. They've started. He also reapplies the passage to Jesus so that the Lord who brings salvation is no longer Yahweh, but Jesus, who saves from sin and judgment everyone who calls on his name, verse 21. It is the unanimous conviction of the New Testament authors, excuse me, that Jesus inaugurated the last days or messianic age, and that the final proof of this was the outpouring of the Spirit, since this was the Old Testament promise of promises for the end time. This being so, we must be careful not to requote Joel's prophecy as if we were still awaiting its fulfillment. This is not how Peter understood and applied the text. The whole Messianic era, which stretches between the two comings of Christ, is the age of the Spirit, in which his ministry is one of abundance. The verb pour out seems to illustrate the generosity of God's gift of the Spirit, neither a drizzle nor even a shower, but a tropical downpour, its finality. For that which has been poured out cannot be gathered again. and its universality, widely distributed among the different groupings of humankind, irrespective of gender, age, or rank. And they will prophesy. That is the universal gift, the Spirit, will lead to a universal ministry, prophecy. Clearly, this is not a reference to the gift of prophecy, which only some receive. Rather, all God's people are prophets in the sense that all of us enjoy the knowledge of God through Christ by the Spirit. Amen. Beginning next Sunday, we will commemorate that, the beginning of the age of the Spirit. He makes a little distinction at the end there about prophecy. We often think, when we think about prophecy or prophets, we're thinking about foretelling the future. The real definition of prophet is one who speaks for God. He's like a middleman who speaks to God, prays to God for the people, and God gives messages back to that prophet to deliver it to the people. He's a two-way street between God and his people, and that in that sense, it is a function of Jesus. He is prophet. We list those three qualities he has: prophet, priest, and king. And so that is what is going on here. There has been a prophecy of Joel, and now there has been a fulfillment. And these men on the day of Pentecost are not prophesying something new, they're explaining something old. And that's the job of a preacher. Every time he gets in the pulpit, every time he shares at a Bible study, is to speak God's words to the people. And that's what they did on the day of Pentecost. Remember all these things for when we get there next Sunday. Blessings to you today, and I hope you'll agree with me. It's good to be back. It's good to share these truths from John Stott, a real scholar, a real man of God, and to learn something from him. Blessings to you today on this Sunday, on this Sabbath.